Okay, in this video, I just wanted to try and give a quick overview of the calendar section of the Book of Enoch. Yeah, the most critical parts of it. So I guess it kind of starts in chapter 72, and I'm just gonna have pictures of my notes and kind of walk through it, but reading it for yourself. But essentially, it talks about a key part right in the beginning there. It talks underlined in green. It says it's talking about these luminaries, plural, and it says their months, plural months. So I think I'll talk about this later in other videos, but I think a lot of people get hung up on when they hear the word month, they think moon, and they don't realize that the other timepieces that the Creator made have monthly cycles of their own. And again, we'll talk about them more later. So these timepieces dureth until the new creation. And Uriel, the holy angel, was showing Enoch all this stuff. I have a question that has to do with another video I made on the equilux or equinox. Like, where was the angel showing him these things? And I recommend you watch that video, kind of explain my conclusion on that. So there are 6 portals in the heavens that I guess the sun and the moon kind of travel through, and it's kind of interesting, the way the Book of Enoch describes this. It does seem like the sun and the moon are the ones moving in this circuit, and you'll notice some interesting things about the sizes of these. It says the sun and the moon are equal size, and there's some interesting things to challenge you. It makes you wonder if somehow the Earth is I'm not saying it's necessarily flat, but something might be going on that contradicts the main thing that everyone understands planet Earth to be. Maybe there's just something funky going on with this translation of Enoch. But anyway, so a key thing is the first month, it says, begins in the 4th great portal. That's kind of a big key point. I talk about that, I think, in the Equilux video that I made. But that's where month 1 starts, and that's key. And then essentially there's an entire page that kind of describes the cycle of the sun, how it is 30 days, 30 days, 30 days plus 1 extra seasonal day. I have circled the words sign a couple times, kind of highlighted with some lines shooting out. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I think that's referring to an actual star sign, I think, or it might just be referring to different signs that we're talking about later. Different signs that follow the seasons, like it'll be hot, it'll be cold, yada yada. So let's see. Interesting, in Book of Enoch says the sun is 7-fold brighter than the moon. And again, it says they're equal there at the end of chapter 72. So those are the sunlight being 7-fold the brightness of the moon is something you can like Google and see that is actually a reality. So it adds validity to Enoch. Chapter 74. We're gonna skip 73, but 74 is really it's as I've heard some say, what do they call it? The Grail. What do they call that thing? The Holy Grail? I don't know. But essentially, I listened to Enoch kind of over and over and over again at one point, because I'm not much of a reader. I'm more of a listener, and I like, when I'm on the road, I got long commutes, I like to listen to things. So I listened to this over and over again. And near the end of chapter 4, it's pretty straightforward. It's just describing how there's 364 days in the solar and the star cycle in a year. And it also describes there at the end that the moon falls behind that sun and star cycle of 364 days, the moon falls behind 10 days per year. And so that's pretty straightforward, and they give some math for that. But what I noticed kind of right in the middle of this chapter, it talks about and I think you're going to see this copy. I've got some things scratched out, and I think I'm going to have some clarity on that in the video I titled Leap Year Video. But yeah, I was hearing these numbers when I was listening to it on the audio. I'm like, man, that doesn't make any sense. And I guess I won't. Well, it is kind of important, but I guess I kind of give all the necessary details in the leap year video. So I'll just let the leap year video explain that. But basically, this set of numbers, it is kind of talking. You see the words overplus, you see the words accrues, and it's talking about the sun, not the moon. And so all this to say, I believe the conclusion is that there is this recognition that there's 365 days actually, and there's an overplus of these days, and there's a way to deal with it, and that's what Enoch's describing here. Chapter 75, it mentions the 4 intercalary days, like those seasonal markers that mark the equinoxes and the solstices. I guess there's some scribbling on that page. My daughter must have got a hold of this document. Yeah, we're gonna skip all the way to the end of chapter 78. And by the way, I've seen some versions where the chapters don't seem to match, like maybe there's one missing or something, so I hope whatever you're looking at matches. But near the end of chapter 78, it's talking about the moon and some specifics about the moon, and I guess I made some notes about that when I was still thinking the moon was like a monthly timepiece. And for more on that, there's a video titled Month that you should check out on that. But so I was really looking at this, trying to figure out, well, is it conjunction or is it crescent? And I mean, the way Enoch describes it here, it does say, I have the word end circled, like that's the end of the lunar cycle, was complete darkness. And then above in the green, it says the new moon. You know, if the end was complete darkness, then at that same moment the beginning begins. And I guess people were getting caught up on this crescent moon thing, but that might be a moot point at this point. But anyway, I guess if you do read the green, I mean, it says on that day the light rises on her, so it isn't at the moment that crescent is seen. The crescent it occurs at some point during that day, but not necessarily at that moment. Like the moment, it seems, is pure darkness. But anyway, that, like I said, that might be a moot point at this point, and I recommend you check out the month video in this series. And some more math, jumping down to chapter 80. Now this might be one of the last chapters, but this is, well, a couple more, but this is a really interesting chapter. It gives a whole bunch of information about things that are going to happen in the future, like it says, in the days of the sinners. We heard that quote in the beginning of the book. I recommend you watch the intro video I made for this to explain that, but you know, it's talking about the end times, I believe. It says, in the days of the sinners, the years shall be shortened. And then it gives all this other information. So that's kind of an interesting little detail that I wonder if that throws a monkey wrench into any of this, but just wanted to point that out. A whole bunch of other interesting little details in that chapter. Again, chapter 81 mentions the remotest generation. Chapter 82, I think, is the other. I think it might be the last. Yeah, it's the last. I just wanted to mention, it kind of mentions a few things, just kind of repeating a few things, but the cool thing to note about this chapter is twice it says, down in verse 9 and I believe somewhere else. Like verse 7 and verse 9, it says festivals. Now, some of those translations I've seen translate that other ways, but when I heard that on my audio, I was like, oh, it's talking about the festivals, it's talking about the appointed times, and I just got really excited. I don't know, maybe need to double check. Like I said, I've seen different versions of Enoch say that's a different word, but if it is festival and if it is appointed times, that's just more confirmation, because it says, I believe it says that maybe only the stars alone were to determine that, which again sort of pits the monthly moon cycle against the monthly star cycle, and there are 12 star constellations, main constellations, that dictate the months. And again, I recommend you view the videos that I made for stars, and there's another one for months. But essentially, I guess that's the quick, maybe not so quick, summary of the calendar section of the Book of Enoch, and there might be more in there to dig into, but I think that's kind of the main gist of it, stuff that needs to be kind of looked at and thought about. And anyway, I hope that was somehow helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or things that I missed. All right, shalom, and God bless.